So hello again. My name is Matej Delacorda, and as said, I'm coming from Slovenia, and I have two really cool guys here with me. And first is GREGOR SMREKAR, EVP Engineering of Celtra, and the second is ANDRAŽ LOGAR, co-founder and CEO of dveh. Welcome both. We're going to talk about challenges in global business, namely time differences and how to manage dispersed teams. You know, there's a saying, when you have a global company, a global product, it is also a necessity to have a global team. How to manage the teams, we'll discuss on two levels. One is strategic level, you know, how and why you create global teams. And the second level will be very practical, how to overcome daily challenges when managing the teams. First, to start with, I will ask both of you to briefly describe yourself and your company in the context of global teams and global company. Who would like to go first? Gregor?
I can start.
Okay.
So, hello everybody. My name is GREGOR SMREKAR. I come from Celtra, and where I run the engineering team. So, Celtra is a company that develops software for advertising. So, you know, for building best ads. We have like 150 people. We are on 8 locations. 4 of those are bigger than 20 people. The largest is in Ljubljana, a bit more than 50. So, and my team is 50 people on 3 locations. So that's for a start.
Okay, ANDRAŽ, your story?
I'm coming from a much smaller company called dveh. We are identified as a really hardcore product development company, usually focused on end-to-end solutions for mobile industry. That can mean from back-end solutions to scalability solutions to the end consumer applications that you see on the phones. In the last 10 years, we also facilitated and we spun out a few companies that I think are more known than the dveh. So Tosher was the first successful one. Then that was followed by Tunia. And last week, we basically spun out a new company called Tricky Tribe, which is focused on game development. That's in a nutshell basically what we do.
Okay, great. So you both have rich experience in doing global business and international teams in Slovenia and abroad. And Gregor just came from New York, just like a couple of hours ago, right?
2 hours.
2 hours ago, great. So if we start on a strategic level, why and how you set up, you know, international teams across the globe? Where do you start when you start creating international teams?
Yeah, so I mean, the story of Celtra is like this, right? So the founders lived in Boston at the time. So, and the idea, the business idea was about advertising. So about premium ads, right? And the center of the premium ads and brands is in US. So there's the market, and also the investors, you know, are there. So everything happens pretty much in US. That's the center of the. So you know, there's where the company is located. That's where the center of, you know, happening is. That's where you have to have sales. And then, you know, if you have sales, you have to have services, and you have to have at least some product people. And when you have some product people, you have to have some developers there, right? That's the basic story. But on the other hand, you know, we compete with best software, right? And you have to get really top talent, and we get it here. I mean, for a company of our type, it's really difficult to get top talent in US, right? Because we are not one of the big brands for, you know, like Google and Facebook, and we are not anymore a very small, very small company with we're already big. So it's in the space in the middle. That's how we are located right now in terms of offices. I mean, the center of the premium advertising, right, of brand is New York. So that's where we have most salespeople. But we have salespeople then also in LA, because that's the center of advertising stuff on the West Coast. In the Midwest, it's Chicago, and we have the salespeople also there. In Europe, half of the premium ads are displayed in UK and Ireland, and then we have a location in London. And our customers in the agencies from the UK said to us, look guys, we operate in the X, also on the Pacific Asia, in the X imperial area, right? So Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, and we want you there. So we opened an office in Sydney to, and we'll office something in Singapore to cover this stuff. So this is how the business kind of dictates where we are, right? We cannot, once you choose the market, once you choose where you play, you have to, and we are a very aggressive company, so we have to have most of the brain and most of the resources where they need to be. That's the
story.
That's the story.
Okay, ANDRAŽ, your experience, we talked before briefly that you have some departments which you outsource, you have it abroad, but you don't have sales abroad. You said you have a product development and development abroad, but not sales. Why?
Why? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think that so far we've not been mature enough to actually open up a specialized sales office yet. Okay. And if we would do that in the past, I think we would have a problem to satisfy the production needs of a successful sales team. This is hopefully changing in Q1 next year. We will be probably opening up the first sales office in Stockholm, so in Sweden. But currently, if we're looking at our operations across the globe, we are working with, or we used to work a couple of months ago with multiple teams located in various continents. We had one team in Montreal in Canada. The reason, I think it's quite similar to Seltra reasons. We wanted to be closer to our customer, and at that time, our biggest customer was from Montreal. Then we opened up a tiny office, detached programming team, basically in Santa Fe, Argentina. Reason is we were looking for top talents, and for some reason, we found a few guys in Argentina. That was the only reason. So we didn't have any kind of sales opportunities there, or we actually didn't even look at the sales opportunities in Argentina. But at the same time, we used to work quite a lot with Mexico, so that suited us really well, because it's pretty much the same time zone, it's the same language, more similar culture than Slovenia versus Mexico, so that suited us really well as well. So all in all, that was really, really good. And until a couple of months ago, we also had a tiny team in Macedonia, our detached production team, basically, but in the last couple of weeks, we moved all of them to Slovenia. That's how I would describe our operations across the globe.
Okay, great. So you open a department in the other country because there is a market. This is what you both said. And now the question, there are so many points you have to be aware of. There is how to attract the right talent. Which are the skills, competencies you need for your product and your sales. So there is a culture, there is a time difference. So how did you prioritize these points to find the best possible talent? Where did you fail? Where did you succeed in attracting, creating the best team for you? It's the same question for both.
I think when it comes to our experience, we were lucky that we never actually needed to scale fast, which means that we always grew in a timely fashion. We always had time to actually understand the people on the other side. So the cultural differences that come along with working internationally, they didn't caught us off guard, honestly. So we were never, shocked that people from Canada are behaving like they are behaving. We knew that before we actually opened up a company there. So from that sense, we were kind of lucky. It would be much different if we would get an investor in the company, which would require much faster growth. And with faster growth, I think you get much bigger, and more often you get problems, I think. But still, you do fail, or we have failed on multiple fronts. Again, we thought that we know the culture of the guy and the people on the other side, but at some point we figured out that maybe there is a much bigger difference than we anticipated. Also, if you need to start from scratch looking for talents in that particular part of the world, you don't have any kind of they don't have any kind of history that would put you in the, up front there with the competitors. When people would be looking for jobs, they would be actually identifying 3FS or any other company as a potential employee. So you have to create basically history, you have to create a presence, and that takes time. Also, what we found out really early on is that even though we know people on the other side and we work with them on a daily basis, we need to find a mechanism when the culture gets shared, company culture gets shared face to face. So, for example, with our team in Argentina, what we're doing is that we are shipping them to Slovenia every 2 months for at least a month. So a guy that works in Argentina gets shipped to Slovenia and he works with us face to face for a month, and then he goes back, and then we switch places again with other guys. And that helps a lot. And it's not that financially consuming, to be honest. I mean, I think it makes sense. I think it's worthy of investing money into something like this because it really shortens the period of culture transferring and it lowers the barrier of communication noise.
Right. Just one notion for the audience. You are our marketing section, so prepare your questions. Start preparing questions right now. Okay, Gregor, the same question for you.
Yeah, I think in our case there were two important things. So, I mean, the first is that when you're opening offices somewhere, it's typically difficult if you start with just the foreigners or the people from there, right? They have to, lead it, but at the beginning, you need some people who understand what company is about and the culture, and that they can then select the right people and work with them, right? So in Sailtra case, it was good that two of the founders anyhow, were in Boston, lived in Boston, but then, just to illustrate the point, like 2.5 years ago, we just moved, I think, 12 people to US forever, right? They just moved. So a couple of married, because in order that girlfriends got visas, they had to be married. So like three just married, got to visas and moved. That was one of the key things, how this happened. Without it, I'm not sure. From Ljubljana, to transfer the culture, it wouldn't work, I think. So, and also that's the second very important point is you need to get people who know how things are done, right? Even they are not the best in their job, what they are doing, right? But they have good understanding of how the local market works, where other people can be found, and they can help you in that, right? And also a big role, in our case, was played by investors. So our investors, like 4 US VCs, they didn't just give the money, right? They give their connections. They really helped us find the right people for us. Without them, it would be very, very difficult. So I think in choosing your investors or partners in a way that can help you with that, I think is key. If they would just say, okay, now here's the money, go, nah, it wouldn't work. So these two things, I think, find some partners who have really good interest in helping you, right? Honest interest in, and move people there. At least for the beginning. I think otherwise, but if not, at least people then have to be brought to your location where the culture is, where the most things are happening, right? And they have to get they have to get brainwashed a little bit. They have to, understand what's it about. I think that is, once this is done, then yeah, travel a lot. That's so I spent a year, 60 days at least in US, and I have part of the team there, right? So, but all our leaders travel a lot, all the time. We have meetings every quarter in different places so that we cover all locations. We bring all the company or most of the company at one place once per year. It's very costly, but it's one of the ways how to exchange the ideas. So new people that go when they join after a month or so, they go to location where other parts of the teams are, so they see their future coworkers, right? So the thing is, you can communicate with Skype very well once you know the guy personally. Right? If you don't, it's much harder, right? So we make sure that people understand and spend some time face to face, drink some beers and so on, and then they can work efficiently also with Skype. But if we just bring them together, it's very, so these are. just some of the things.
Okay, great. We are becoming more practical. So what would you say are, like, for both, bullet points or things we have to really pay attention to when we have an international team? So there are Skype calls, there are time differences. So you mentioned coffee times, meet in person, there are like travels. So what do people who are starting international teams have to be aware and have to schedule in their daily work style?
I think the first step that company needs to understand is how to work off-site. So if you are used to working face-to-face non-stop, then this shift needs to happen as soon as possible. That was quite a big problem for us because we were known and we were really good at working in one team and in one place really efficiently. But when we started having detached teams, our internal, the biggest team, which is in Kran, had to actually adjust to the fact that there are people not present in our Kran office. So this is what you need to understand, that by having detached offices means that your main office needs to be prepared to work remotely. This means writing documentation using chat software, project management software. Everything needs to be done in a way like that everyone could actually work from home. So that was our first, let's say, obstacle to overcome. Then, of course, you need to have daily meetings. So you need to follow your internal procedures of product management or project management. It depends how you do it. You just have to do it globally, and you have to do via Skype or via other chat software. What we used to do also, and it works really well sometimes, is to have a video connection open 24/7 with the other office, which kind of creates two walls on both locations. So a wall that you go to see what's happening on the other side of the world. We got this idea from Google. I mean, it's not our original idea, and I think it kind of works okay. Also, what you need to understand is that it's hard to work from 9 to 5. So that goes both ways. So the team on the other side of the pond needs to understand that they're working with Europe, which means that they need to get to the office earlier, or at least we are forcing them to get to the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. But at the same time, we are prolonging our working hours up to, I would say, 7 here in Slovenia. And it's working fairly well. I mean, we never had experience going backwards, meaning having detached offices in the Eastern Hemisphere, which would, I guess, require us to get up earlier. But I think that's just, the way this stuff works, and there's absolutely no way to do it differently, I think.
Great. Gregor, your experience?
Yeah, I mean, Andrea said it all. I think on this, nothing to add. Same thing, same practices. Also, myself, for example, 2 days a week, I work in the afternoon, right? Like till 10 p.m. because, my team is San Francisco, so I need to have some time with them, and that's how, and maybe I'll turn one of the other days into the afternoon work. It's important, anyhow, in the winter, mornings are better for go out, so. So but people, for example, I explain this when we hire people, like that, either you adjust to like ending your work like at 6 or 7, or you have the flexibility to, go home earlier, do the stuff, go jogging, whatever, and then at 10, 9 p.m. you talk with the guys, right? Both things work. But if you're not prepared to, it's difficult to contribute a lot, because if product people are in San Francisco, if you need to be part of the sales or talk with some customers, and you don't want to, I mean, in San Francisco, you wouldn't get a business meeting right before like 7 p.m. our time, right? But it's like 11, it's more normal, or even so on. So you have to have this, you have to take this as part of the job, and it works. Otherwise, it's difficult, right? I would add 2 other things. So one is especially important if you have, if a team leader has team distributed, right? That brings a whole lot of problems, because you cannot detect how people come to the office in the morning, what's their facial expression, how they walk, so many signs that you get normally, how they talk, how they, what kind of energy level they are, you don't see, right? So you have to kind of, it helps, video stuff helps a lot. But even then, you have to schedule certain dedicated time for this kind of, some one-on-one discussions where both sides know that you have to talk very openly about also some personal stuff. Otherwise, nobody knows anything, right? And it's difficult. So you just have to train both sides how this is done. And this is very important. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And in our case, another thing that's the most difficult, actually, of this is making sure that the changes in our strategy, because we change, adjust, the market changes very, very quickly. We add a little bit, some features, or we change approach some customer segments every day almost, right, or every week. And these things are done at coffees in New York and Boston. And how an engineer in Ljubljana gets this, right? What now 3 people really, made an important decision, really changes the way how we will operate, earn money in the next, like quarters, but you don't know. So we had to really put a lot of mechanisms in place how this information gets across pretty quickly, pretty efficiently, because only that way people can contribute, otherwise you just do something you're told, right? But only if you understand what the company is about, then you can contribute, you can help, you can be creative in the right way. And this is the hardest thing. This is my biggest challenge, for example, how to really get this market stuff, product strategy shifts and status to everybody that they can then contribute. That's the biggest issue.
Okay, great. You answered the following questions. What are the biggest pains? But let us conclude with one question. Working internationally with international teams, this is in a way becoming reality. This is also a future of work. Based on your experience, so you know the pains, you know the challenges in management of the international teams, you also see the gains, being there with the market. How would you personally optimize creation and management of international teams as a future of work to work even better for your company at this moment or for the companies in the future? So where do you see, room for improvement of international teams and work?
Coming from Slovenia, I think one thing that is common to all Slovenians is the fact that they are not really happy about moving abroad. So we as a culture, I think we need to change that, and we need to accept the fact that new generations will have to move abroad. Hopefully they will come back at some point. And by moving abroad, they will gather experience, they will broaden their horizons, and hopefully learn some other social ethics that we obviously lack of here in Slovenia. The fact that from Slovenia you cannot do any kind of proper global business is not going to change. Multinationals will not come to Slovenia regardless of what we do, meaning that we need to go there where the business is. So by optimization, I think we just need to accept this as soon as possible. So it's not like you need 10 years to start understanding how the global business works. You read an article, you talk to a guy these days, he gives you basically the truth, and this is what you need to do. So as companies, I think we need to become braver, and we need to take more risks when it comes to creating detached offices, especially for sales opportunities. And probably in the next future years, also due to the production opportunities. And by that, I mean developers. I think Celtra has the same problem as us. There is lack of quantity and quality of production people. So even from Slovenia, which is not the most expensive market when it comes to software development and not the most competitive in the world, we already lack appropriate people. So we need to look at other countries which can offer, which can solve this deficit, basically. So I don't know if there's any formula that would speed up this kind of process, but I just hope that the newborn companies will get this, or we start understanding this much sooner than we did.
Yeah, regarding Celtra, so I think the main things I discussed, so I wouldn't repeat them. So it's about just getting information about the strategy, getting teams to work together, and projects. And I think we are just training, improving, investing. I think that's the main thing. I don't see right now a big something that we need to do and we didn't yet start it, or at least didn't come to me. About what ANDRAŽ said, I think that's the fact. So I think everybody should be used. We should get used to the idea and kind of train it, and and get some info education early on to people also who study. I mean, this is the fact. They'll work. So most of the people in most like technical, production, development environments, they'll work in international teams. Either because their companies will globalize, or their customers will be there, and they'll work in a team, in either supplier or market side. I mean, that's the fact, right? And they have to just, so we'll have to train them, people, to use the tools, not be afraid of it, because it brings immense gains, right? I mean, immense gains. So, I mean, we have to specialize. Every company will have to specialize and use the global market, so do something very, very good on a very broad scale, right? That's most of the potential is. So, better get used to it and don't be afraid, and just do the right steps and learn from the people who did it, right?
3 minutes left. 3 minutes left.
Okay, great and valuable content. I told you the guys are cool. Do we have any questions? We have to have questions. Yes, we have a question. I told you, we'll have questions.
Hi. There's a legend circling the Slovenian startup community about Siltra, and I just wanted to take this opportunity and ask it. Were the CEO and CTO really connected over the 2 continents with a non-stop video connection while they worked?
Not that I know.
Okay.
Okay,
but they do talk daily a little bit, yeah. So, but not with video.
Okay, the video is coming. So we have to conclude, right? The Mrs. Moderator.
I have another question.
We have to conclude. Okay.
Yeah, I have a short question. For instance, your companies have grown. Did you at any point feel that you are losing your personality of a startup, and how do you fight to preserve that same limberness? Is this, are spin-outs one way of solving this, and do you think that an approach like holacracy at Zappos and etc. can work, so flat structure at very large scale, etc.?
I mean, yeah, this is a different question, not related so much to globalization or to multiple locations, but it changes every day, right? So, and we change the personality, we change the way. Before I joined, they were like, the company was 10 people. It's totally different when there were 50, but now when I joined, we were 65, and now we're 150. So, it's totally different. So the way how we work, the processes, the flat structure, you have to have some structure. We try to be as flat, as open as possible, but you need a structure. You need to, manage people. You need to distribute communication. So you just have to create structures, right? So, so the spin-off, so this, we can discuss it at length. It's a very, very good topic, but I think companies grow, and they have to change, and they have to become more rigid, more process-oriented if they want to reach the full potential, right? But on the other hand, they have to kind of be agile, and there are tools. I mean, for Siltra, spin-offs are not an option. We're not at that phase, because still we are around a very specific single product, right? So we didn't diversify, and we actually don't plan to, at least at this point. So we do one product on a global scale. We want to do it really well. So we have to have other tools to keep us agile, right? But we do change a lot, and the personality of the company did change a lot.
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the most important things is that if you're building one product like Siltra is building, then you have less opportunities to create spin-outs or to create agile teams versus a company that diversifies the portfolio. So in our experience, what we have found out that, well, we have found that it's, in the art of war, pretty much the philosophy is already written. If you have teams which are bigger than 6 people, then you have to start managing that team. Because you're losing face-to-face time, you're losing the personal details of individuals that actually drive the startup culture of that particular team. So if you grow above 6 people, then you have to start creating some sort of a infrastructure to yeah, to actually force yourself to continue being as agile as possible. In our case, what we do is we create so-called team leads. So we identify individuals that run teams of 6 people, and then they report to other team leads. So the perfect world of having a flat structure doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Also, what after a while you start recognizing is that startup as a company is fine, but also a mature company at some point is also fine. It has pluses and minuses on both sides. What you really have to prevent is that 6 years later you wake up in a reality, you have 50 people working on a product, and out of those 50 people you have 40 product managers. So this is what you have to work really hard not to get into. And there are mechanisms that prevent you to do that prevent this kind of evolution. And one of the mechanisms that we practice a lot is obviously these spinning outs. But these spin outs, well, at least with the 3FS, people have to realize that we were in a way forced to do that because the Slovenian legislature and the whole, the law practicing kind of structure is not done in a way that would allow bringing a lot of owners into the company structure, or it's kind of hard to do that. So in order to get over these bureaucracy problems, creating spin-outs actually makes quite a lot of sense. Secondly, in Slovenia, because of the flat structure of salaries, you have to find motivation for individuals much sooner than you would in some, let's say, more capitalistic world. And due to the fact that people are not used to actually owning a part of what they're doing, also needs to be changed. And with startups, you expect that people understand the fact that they will work for peanuts and that they will work for the light at the end of the tunnel. So all this stuff, you need to, I guess, keep on repeating in the future and try, I guess, as hard as possible.
Okay, we have to conclude. If you want to talk more, catch us if you can. Thank you, guys. Good job.